Jiho walked through the loud, busy halls of the Galactic Administration Building. His four-fingered hand held a small device that showed his daily tasks. All around him, other Calaxians moved quickly, their tall blue bodies easy to spot in the crowd. Unlike the others, Jiho was heading to a place most of his kind avoided, the Sentient Exchange Center. "Going to look at the humans again, Jiho?" asked a voice behind him. It was Su Jin, another worker from his department. Her eyes showed what she thought, that Jiho was wasting his time. "Yes," said Jiho simply. "I find them interesting." Su Jin made a small noise that showed she did not agree. "Interesting? They're just animals that learn to use tools. I don't know why the council even allows them in the program." Jiho did not argue. He had heard this many times before. Most Calaxians thought of humans as strange pets, or worse, as dangerous creatures that should be kept away. But Jiho had studied them for many years now, and he saw something different. "Have a nice day, Su Jin," he said, and walked away before she could say more. The Sentient Exchange Center was at the bottom level of the building. As Jiho stepped out of the lift, he could feel the change in the air. It was warmer here, set to match what humans found comfortable. The light was also different, less blue, more yellow. Jiho had gotten used to these changes over his many visits. "Back again, sir?" asked the center worker, a tired-looking Calaxian named Do. "Still thinking about taking one home?" "Yes," said Jiho. "I believe I'm ready now." Do looked surprised. Most Calaxians who came here did so to look and laugh, not to actually join the program. "Well, that's good. We have too many humans right now. The holding areas are full." Jiho nodded. The Sentient Exchange Program was supposed to help different species learn about each other. But most aliens only wanted humans as things to show off. When they got bored, they brought them back here, where the humans waited in small rooms until someone else took them. "I want to see all of them," said Jiho. "Not just the ones you usually show visitors." Do looked unsure, but he finally agreed. He led Jiho past the main viewing area, where the most attractive or unusual humans were kept. They went down a long hall to a section with simple metal doors. Each door had a small window. "These are the ones no one wants," said Do. "Too quiet, too old, or too normal." Jiho looked through the first window. Inside was a human with gray hair sitting on a small bed reading something on a screen. The next room had a young human who was drawing on a paper. Jiho looked at many rooms, seeing humans who were doing simple, everyday things. Then he came to a room at the end of the hall. Through the window, he saw a human male sitting very still. Unlike the others, this one was looking directly at the door, as if he knew someone was there. His eyes met Jiho's, and the Calaxian felt something strange, like the human was studying him just as much as he was studying the human. "This one," said Jiho. "Tell me about him." Do checked his device. "Name is Minho. Been here for 82 days. No one has taken him because he's too, well, boring. Doesn't do tricks or tell stories like the popular ones. Just watches and listens. He seems calm," said Jiho. "Thoughtful." "If you say so," Do shrugged. "Most want humans that entertain. This one barely talks." "I'll take him," said Jiho. Do looked surprised again. "Are you sure? We have much more impressive specimens in the main area. Some can sing, some can fight." "I don't want to be entertained," said Jiho. "I want to learn. This one seems like he has much to teach." Do made another shrugging motion, then used his device to open the door. "Minho," he said to the human, "you're being adopted into the Sentient Exchange Program by Administrator Jiho." The human stood up slowly. He was shorter than Jiho, but his body looked strong and solid. His black hair was cut short and his face was calm. He nodded to Jiho but said nothing. "Does he understand?" asked Jiho. "Yes," said Minho, speaking for the first time. His voice was deeper than Jiho expected. "I understand the program and its rules." Jiho felt pleased. The human's voice was clear and his words were direct. "Good. Please gather your things. You'll be coming to my home." While Minho collected his few items, Do had Jiho fill out many forms on his device. "Remember," said Do, "you are responsible for the human's actions. If it causes any problems, you will face the consequences." "He," said Jiho. "Not it." Do looked confused. "What?" "The human is a he, not an it," said Jiho. "If we are to learn from each other, we must start with basic respect." Do looked like he wanted to laugh but stopped himself. "Of course, sir. Whatever you say." When all the forms were done, Jiho and Minho left the center together. As they walked through the halls of the building, many Calaxians stopped to stare. Some pointed and whispered. Jiho could hear some of their comments. "Is that Jiho with a human? Why would he want one of those in his home? How can he trust it not to kill him in his sleep?" Jiho ignored them all. Next to him, Minho walked, quietly, his eyes taking in everything around them. When they reached Jiho's office, a tall Calaxian was waiting by the door. It was Admiral Tae-wan, Jiho's superior in the department. "Jiho," said the Admiral, his voice cold, "I heard you've joined the exchange program." "Yes, Admiral," said Jiho. "This is Minho." The Admiral looked at the human with narrow eyes. "I must say I'm disappointed. Having such a creature in the building is inappropriate for someone of your position." "The program is approved by the Council," said Jiho. "Many officials participate." "They keep their humans at home as curiosities," said Taiwan. "They don't bring them into government buildings." "The program is about cultural exchange," said Jiho. "That cannot happen if we keep them locked away." Tae-wan made a small hissing sound that showed his anger. "Just keep it away from sensitive areas, and remember who you work for, Jiho." After the Admiral left, Jiho let out a long breath. He looked at Minho, who had been watching the exchange with careful eyes. "I apologize for that," said Jiho. "Not everyone is open to new ideas." "No need to apologize," said Minho. "I'm used to it." Jiho nodded. "Let me show you where you'll be staying." As they walked to Jiho's transport vehicle, he noticed how Minho moved, with careful, controlled steps. Not like someone afraid, but like someone always ready. Jiho wondered about the human's past, about what had brought him to the exchange program. "You can ask," said Minho suddenly, as if reading Jiho's thoughts. "Most do." "Ask what?" "Why I'm here. What I did on Earth, if I'm dangerous." Jiho thought for a moment. "I believe you'll tell me when you're ready. Until then, I hope you'll be comfortable in my home." For the first time, Minho's face showed a small change. Not quite a smile, but something close to it. "You're different," said the human. "So are you," replied Jiho. And as they boarded the transport that would take them home, Jiho knew that his life had changed forever. What he didn't know was just how much that change would matter in the days to come. 3 weeks had passed since Jiho brought Minho home. The small apartment now had signs of the human's presence: a sleeping mat in the spare room, a few books on the shelf, and extra food in the kitchen storage unit. Jiho found the changes pleasant, like his home was more alive now. Every morning, Jiho would wake to find Minho already up. The human would be doing slow, controlled movements in the main room, what he called exercise. Jiho found it strange at first, but soon understood. It was how humans kept their bodies strong. "Would you like to try?" Minho asked one morning, seeing Jiho watching him. Jiho's four-fingered hands gripped the door frame. "I'm not sure my body works that way." "Everyone's body is different," said Minho. "But movement is good for all." So Jiho joined in, copying the human's actions as best he could. His long Calaxian limbs were not as flexible, but he tried. After they finished, Jiho felt his heart beating faster, his blue skin warm. "That was interesting," he said. Minho's face showed that small, almost smile. Again. "You did well." At work, things were less pleasant. People talked about Jiho behind his back. Some stopped conversations when he entered a room. Sujin was the worst, always making small comments about his dangerous pet. I heard humans can snap and become violent without warning, she said one day in the meeting room. I hope you sleep with your door locked, Jiho. Minho has been nothing but respectful, said Jiho. Unlike some of my colleagues. Sujin's face showed anger, but before she could respond, Admiral Taewan entered the room. Everyone stood up. Straight, sit down, ordered the admiral. His long face was serious. We have a problem. He turned on the large screen on the wall. It showed security records from the night before. Something had happened in the record section. Files were missing and a security camera had been turned off for 12 minutes. This is the third breach this month, said Taewan. Someone is accessing sensitive information about our dealings with the Draxid Collective. The room was quiet. The Draxids were the main rivals of the Calaxians. The two species had been in a cold war for decades. Any leak of information could tip the balance of power. Starting today, new security measures will be in place. Continued, Taewan. All non-Calaxians must be registered when entering any government building, and they must be with their sponsor at all times. Taewan looked directly at Jiho. That includes your companion, Jiho. In fact, it might be best if you left it at home. Jiho felt his skin grow hot with anger, but he kept his voice calm. As you wish, Admiral. Though I doubt Minho has anything to do with these breaches. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. We shall see. Dismissed. As everyone left the meeting, Sujin walked close to Jiho. You should be careful, she whispered. The Admiral doesn't like your attachment to that human. It could hurt your career. Thank you for your concern, said Jiho, not believing it. Was real concern at all. That evening, Jiho told Minho about the new rules. The human listened without showing much reaction. Do you think these security breaches are serious? Minho asked when Jiho finished speaking. Jiho thought about it. Yes, information about the Draxids is very sensitive. If they learn our defense plans or our trade routes, it could lead to conflict. Minho nodded slowly. Have you noticed anything strange at home, with your computers or communication devices? Jiho was surprised by the question. No. Why do you ask? Just curious, said Minho. But he seemed troubled. Later that night, after Jiho had gone to sleep, Minho moved silently through the apartment. He went to Jiho's workstation and turned on the computer. His fingers moved quickly over the controls, checking system logs and connection records. After a few minutes, he found what he was looking for. Someone had accessed Jiho's home network 3 times in the past week. The intrusion was subtle. Most would not notice it. But Minho was not most people. He turned off the computer and sat in the dark thinking. There was more going on than a simple security breach. And somehow, Jiho was involved. The next morning, Jiho got ready for work as usual. I'll be home, late tonight, he told Minho. There's a reception at the Central Hall all department heads must attend. Will important people be there? Asked Minho. Yes, even some Draxid officials. It's a diplomatic event. Minho nodded. Be careful. Watch what you say and who you talk to. Jiho looked at the human with surprise. That's strange advice. Just a feeling, said Minho. Humans have good instincts about danger. Jiho wasn't sure what to make of this, but he nodded. I'll be careful. At work, the new security measures made everything slower. Guards checked everyone's identification at every door. Non-Calaxians were few, but they were all watched closely. In the afternoon, Jiho was called to Taiwan's office. The Admiral was not alone. A tall, thin alien with gray skin stood by the window, a Draxid. Jiho, this is Representative Cole from the Draxid Diplomatic Corps, said Taiwan. He will be at the reception tonight, and I want you to answer any questions he has about our cultural programs. Jiho bowed slightly to the Draxid. I would be happy to, Admiral. The Draxid's small eyes studied Jiho. I hear you have a human in the exchange program, Administrator Jiho. How progressive of you. Thank you, Representative, said Jiho, though he wasn't sure it was a compliment. Humans are fascinating creatures, continued Cole, so primitive in some ways, yet capable of surprising complexity. We have a few in our own exchange programs. I have found the experience very educational, said Jiho carefully. The Draxid made a small humming sound. I'm sure you have. I look forward to our conversation tonight. After the Draxid left, Taewon turned to Jiho. Be careful what you say to him. The Draxids are always looking for weaknesses. Of course, Admiral, said Jiho, but he wondered why Taewon had set up this meeting in the first place if he was so worried. The reception that night was held in the Grand Central Hall. All the important officials were there, wearing their formal clothes. Jiho felt uncomfortable, in his stiff uniform, but he tried not to show it. Sujin found him by the drink table. She looked different tonight. Her blue skin shimmered with some kind of powder, and she wore a decorated sash across her chest. No human pet tonight? She asked, her voice sweet but her words sharp. Minho is not a pet, said Jiho. And no, the new rules make it difficult to bring him to events. Good, she said, moving closer. You look better without your strange shadow. More like the Jiho I used to know. Jiho was confused by her sudden friendliness. I'm the same person I've always been. Are you? She asked. I wonder. The Jiho I knew was ambitious, focused on his career, not distracted by outside interests. Before Jiho could answer, Representative Cole appeared beside them. Administrator Jiho, said the Draxid. And who is your lovely companion? Administrator Sujin, she said, bowing deeply. It's an honor, Representative. Would you mind if I borrowed Administrator Jiho for a moment? Asked Cole. We have cultural matters to discuss. Sujin smiled, but her eyes were cold. Of course not. We can continue our talk later, Jiho. As Cole led Jiho away, the Calaxian felt uneasy. Something about tonight felt wrong, but he couldn't say what. He remembered Minho's warning to be careful. What Jiho didn't know was that at that very moment back at his apartment, Minho was crouched over the computer again. This time he had opened the walls of the unit and was connecting small devices to the inside parts. The human's face was serious, his eyes focused on his work. Too many connections, he muttered to himself. Too many people watching this place. He closed up the wall and checked the time. Jiho would be at the reception for hours still. That gave Minho enough time for what he needed to do next. Back at the central hall, Jiho felt like he was being watched. As he talked with the Draxid about cultural programs, he noticed Sujin and Admiral Taewon speaking quietly in a corner, both looking at him from time to time. Jiho had never felt so alone, or so worried about what tomorrow might bring. Jiho returned home very late from the reception. His head hurt from too many sweet drinks and too many careful conversations. The apartment was dark and quiet. Minho? He called softly. The human appeared from the shadows of the kitchen area. You're back. How was the reception? Jiho sat heavily on his sitting cushion. Strange. The Admiral had me talk with a Draxid official about cultural programs, but the Draxid seemed more interested in you than in the program itself. Minho's face showed no surprise. What did you tell him? Just basic information. That you've been with me for 3 weeks. That the experience has been positive. Jiho looked closely at the human. Why do you ask? Is something wrong? Minho was quiet for a moment. I think you should be careful at work tomorrow. Don't be alone with people you don't trust. Jiho felt cold suddenly. You think I'm in danger? From whom? I'm not sure yet, said Minho. But things don't feel right. Jiho wanted to ask more questions, but his eyes were heavy with tiredness. We'll talk more tomorrow, he said, and went to his sleeping room. Minho stood in the dark for a long time after Jiho left. Finally, he went to a small device he had hidden under the kitchen counter. It showed that someone had been in the apartment while they were both gone. Whoever it was had been careful, but they had moved a few things slightly. Items that only Minho would notice were different. They're getting ready, Minho whispered to himself. The next day was busy at the government building. There was a problem with the defense system at one of the border stations. All department heads had to stay late to work on it. It's very strange, said one of Jiho's colleagues. The system just stopped working. No warning, no reason. Could it be the Draxids? Asked another. Admiral Taiwan's voice cut through the room. Let's not jump to conclusions, it could be a technical problem. But his eyes told a different story. The Admiral was worried. As the day went on, more problems appeared. Communication systems failed. Data disappeared from some computers. The whole building felt tense and afraid. At his desk, Ji-ho tried to focus on his work. But he kept thinking about Min-ho's warning. He looked around at his colleagues. Who could he not trust? Soo-jin? The Admiral himself? It was hard to know. When most people had gone home, Ji-ho was still at his desk. He had to finish an important report for the next day. The office floor was quiet and dark, with only a few lights still on. Ji-ho's communication device buzzed. It was a message from Min-ho. Leave the building now. Come home by a different route than usual. Ji-ho stared at the message. How did Min-ho know he was still at work? And why should he leave? The report was not finished. But something in Ji-ho's chest told him to listen. He gathered his things quickly and headed for the door. Just as he reached it, the power went out, completely. The room went black. Then red emergency lights came on, making everything look strange and scary. Ji-ho heard footsteps in the hall, not the normal walking of cleaning staff or late workers. These steps were quick, careful, trying to be quiet. Without knowing why, Ji-ho moved behind a large cabinet. He made himself as small as possible, just as the door to the office opened. 3 figures entered the room. In the red light, Ji-ho could see 2 were Calaxians in dark uniforms. The third was taller and thinner, a Draxid. The one from the reception, Representative Cole. Where is he? Asked one of the Calaxians. The voice was female. With shock, Ji-ho realized it was Soo-jin. His computer is still on, said the other Calaxian. He must be nearby. Find him, said the Draxid. We need to finish this tonight, before he talks to anyone else. Ji-ho's heart beat so hard he was sure they could hear it. They were looking for him. They wanted to hurt him, but why? The 3 spread out, searching the office. Ji-ho knew they would find him soon. There weren't many places to hide. He closed his eyes, trying to think of what to do. Suddenly there was a loud crash from the hallway. All 3 figures turned toward the sound. What was that? Asked Soo-jin. Stay here, said the Draxid. I'll check. The tall alien moved to the door and looked out. Without warning, something hit him hard from above. The Draxid fell to the floor with a heavy sound. The 2 Calaxians pulled out weapons, small guns that Ji-ho knew could stun or kill. They pointed them at the door. Come out now, ordered Soo-jin. There was silence for a moment. Then a voice came from everywhere and nowhere. You should have left him alone. Ji-ho knew that voice. It was Min-ho. One of the lights above the Calaxians broke with a pop. Glass fell down on them. While they looked up, something moved fast through the darkness. The male Calaxian fired his weapon, but hit nothing. Then he was on the ground, something heavy on top of him. There was a quick struggle, and then he didn't move anymore. Soo-jin turned around wildly, her weapon moving from side to side. Where are you? Show yourself. Right here, said Min-ho's voice from behind her. Before she could turn, Min-ho had grabbed her arm and twisted it. The weapon fell to the floor. Soo-jin tried to fight, but Min-ho moved in ways Ji-ho had never seen before, quick and strong. In seconds, Soo-jin was on the ground too, unable to move. Ji-ho, called Min-ho into the darkness. Are you here? Are you hurt? Ji-ho stepped out from behind the cabinet, his legs shaking. I'm here. I'm not hurt. He looked at the 3 figures on the floor. Are they? Just unconscious, said Min-ho. But they'll wake up soon. We need to go now. But why did they attack me? What's happening? I'll explain later. Right now we need to get to safety. Ji-ho felt lost. Nothing made sense, but he trusted Min-ho, so he nodded. Where do we go? Not your apartment. They've been there too. We need to go somewhere they won't expect. As they moved toward the door, Soo-jin made a small noise. She was waking up. Her eyes opened and she looked at Ji-ho with hate. Fool, she said. You don't even know what you've done. The Admiral will find you. And when he does, your pet won't be able to save you. Jiho looked at her, his former colleague, now his enemy. Why, Sujin? Why try to hurt me? Because you were going to ruin everything, she said. With your stupid reports about the exchange program. Your ideas about treating other species as equals. The Admiral has plans, big plans, and you were in the way. Minho put his hand on Jiho's arm. We need to go now. They left the three attackers on the floor and moved quickly through the dark building. Minho seemed to know exactly where to go, to avoid security cameras and guards. They went down service stairs and through maintenance tunnels that Jiho didn't even know existed. How do you know this building so well? Asked Jiho as they crawled through a small passage. I've been studying it, said Minho. Ever since I noticed someone watching your apartment, I knew we might need a way out someday. They emerged from the building through a small door near the garbage disposal area. The night air was cool on Jiho's skin. Where do we go now? He asked. Minho pointed to a small transport vehicle parked nearby. I borrowed this earlier. It will take us somewhere safe. As they got into the vehicle, Jiho looked at the human with new eyes. This was not the quiet, obedient exchange participant he had thought he knew. This was someone else entirely. Who are you, really? Asked Jiho as Minho started the vehicle. Minho's eyes stayed on the path ahead. Someone who keeps his promises. You treated me with respect when no one else would, so I'm going to make sure you stay alive. The vehicle moved quickly through the dark streets, leaving the government building behind. But Jiho knew this was just the beginning of their troubles. Admiral Taewan had power and resources. He would be looking for them, and Jiho still didn't know why. As Minho drove the small transport vehicle far from the city center, they passed through areas Jiho had never seen before, places where few Calaxians lived. The buildings here were old and close together. Strange smells and sounds filled the air. Where are we going? Asked Jiho. A safe place, said Minho. Someone I trust lives here. They stopped in front of a small building with no signs or lights. Minho knocked on the door in a special pattern. 3 quick knocks, then 2 slow ones. The door opened a crack. A voice spoke in a language Jiho did not understand. Minho answered in the same strange words. The door opened wider. Inside was another human, older than Minho, with gray in his hair. He looked at Jiho with careful eyes. This is the one you told me about? Asked the older human in the common language. Minho nodded. Yes, this is Jiho. He's in danger. We both are. Come in then, said the older human. I'm Day. Welcome to my home, Calaxian. The inside of Day's home was small but clean. There were strange objects everywhere, things Jiho had never seen before. Some looked like tools, others like art. Sit, said Day, pointing to some cushions on the floor. You look tired. Jiho sat, his legs feeling weak. Now that they were safe, at least. For the moment, he felt all the fear and confusion of the night catching up with him. I don't understand any of this, he said. Why did Sujin and the others attack me? What does the Admiral want? And who are you, Minho? Really? Minho sat across from Jiho. In the dim light of Day's home, the human looked different, more serious, more dangerous. I'll tell you everything, said Minho. But first you need to know that nothing is as it seems. The sentient exchange program, the relationship between Calaxians and Draxids, it's all built on lies. Jiho felt cold again. What do you mean? Minho looked at Day, who nodded and left the room. When he came back, he had a small device in his hands. He placed it on the floor between them and turned it on. A blue light appeared above the device, showing moving pictures. Jiho saw images of Admiral Taewan meeting with Draxid officials. Not open meetings like at the reception, but secret ones, in dark places. I've been collecting these for months, said Minho. The Admiral is working with a group of Draxids. They're planning something big. But that's impossible, said Jiho. The Admiral hates Draxids. He's always pushing for stronger defenses against them. That's what he wants everyone to think, said Minho. But in truth, he and certain Draxid leaders are working together. They want war between your peoples. War? But why? Power. Money. Minho's face was hard. War means new weapons, new ships. It means emergency powers for military leaders. It means rich contracts for those who supply the fighting. Jiho shook his head, not wanting to believe it. How do you know all this? Who are you? Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, On Earth, I was a security specialist. I worked for a global protection agency. My job was to find threats and stop them before they became dangerous. So you're not really part of the exchange program? You're a spy? Not exactly, said Minho. I joined the program willingly, but not for cultural exchange. I came because we had reports that something was wrong. Too many humans in the program were disappearing, and there were rumors of a plot involving high-ranking Calaxians and Draxids. Jiho tried to understand. So you were looking for proof of this plot, and that's why you wanted to be placed with me? Because I work in the government? No, said Minho, and his voice was softer now. That was chance. I didn't know who would take me from the center, but when you did, when I saw how you treated me as a person, not a pet, I decided to trust you. The blue images continued to move above the device. Now they showed a large building Jiho had never seen before. What is that place? He asked. It's a secret facility, said Day, speaking for the first time in a while. On the far side of your moon, the Admiral and his Draxid partners built it together. They're creating weapons there, terrible weapons, and they're testing them on humans. From the exchange program, added Minho. His voice was cold with anger. The ones who disappear, the ones no one cares about because they're just pets. Jiho felt sick. Could this be true? Could his own people be doing such horrible things, but what does this have to do with me? He asked. Why did they try to attack me tonight? Minho and Dai looked at each other. Dai nodded, and Minho continued. Your reports, Jiho, the ones about improving the exchange program, about giving non-Calaxians more rights. If those changes happened, if humans and other species were seen as equals, it would be much harder to make them disappear. People would notice. People would ask questions. Jiho remembered Sujin's words. You were going to ruin everything with your stupid reports. So they wanted to kill me to stop my reports? He asked. Not just kill you, said Minho. Frame you. Make it look like you were helping. The Draxids steal information. Then the Admiral could point to you as proof that non-Calaxians can't be trusted, that the exchange program needs more control, not less. Jiho's head hurt from all this new information. It was hard to accept that people he had worked with for years could do such things. I need proof, he said. Real proof, not just images. That could be fake. Minho nodded. That's fair, and I know where to get it. He pointed to the image of the secret facility. Everything we need is there. Records of meetings, plans for the weapons, lists of the humans they've taken. You want to go there? Jiho was shocked. That's crazy, it would be heavily guarded. Yes, said Minho. But I know a way in. Before I was placed in the center, I worked with other humans who were tracking this plot. We found weaknesses in their security system. And once we have this proof, what do we do with it? We take it to the Galactic Council, said Day. They have power over both Calaxians and Draxids. If they see what's happening, they'll stop it. Jiho wasn't sure. This was all moving too fast. Yesterday, he was a normal government worker. Now, he was hiding in a strange house, planning to break into a secret facility to stop a war plot. Why should I trust you? He asked Minho. How do I know you're telling the truth? Minho looked directly into Jiho's eyes. Because I could have left you there tonight. When those three came to kill you, I could have stayed hidden, stayed safe, but I didn't. I kept my promise to protect you. Jiho remembered how Minho had appeared from nowhere, how he had fought, with skill and strength to save him. That at least was real. All right, he said at last. If what you say is true, we need to stop them. But how do we get to this facility? I'm sure the Admiral has people looking for us everywhere by now. Day smiled for the first time. Leave that to me, I know people who can help. The older human went to a cabinet and took out some items of clothing. Strange outfits that would cover their bodies completely, including their faces. Put these on, he said. Where we're going, It's better if no one sees who you are. As Jiho changed into the strange clothes, he wondered what would happen next. His old life was gone now. There was only the path ahead, dangerous and unknown. But as he looked at Minho, now preparing small devices that looked like weapons, Jiho felt something he didn't expect. Hope. This human, whom others saw as just a pet or a primitive creature, was risking everything to do what was right. Maybe, thought Jiho, we have more to learn from humans than I ever realized. The small ship moved silently through space. It was an old cargo vessel, the kind no one would look at twice. Inside, Jiho sat nervously as Day piloted them toward the moon. How did you get this ship? Jiho asked. I know many people, said Day with a small smile. Not all humans in the exchange program are what they seem. Minho was checking a set of small devices that looked like thin bracelets. He handed one to Jiho. Put this on, he said. It will hide your body heat from sensors. It only works for about 2 hours, so we need to be quick. Jiho put the device on his wrist. It felt cold against his blue skin. What's the plan when we reach the facility? We land on the dark side of the moon, away from the facility, explained Minho. Then we walk. There's a maintenance entrance that isn't well guarded. We go in, find the control room, download the proof we need, and get out. It sounded simple when Minho said it, but Jiho knew it would be dangerous. If they were caught, they would be killed. Or worse, they might become test subjects like the other missing humans. We're approaching the moon, said Day. Everyone be quiet now. The ship slowed and moved around to the far side of the moon, where the facility couldn't see them. They landed quietly on the dusty surface. Minho and Jiho put on spacesuits. They were old and patched in places, but they would work for the short walk to the facility. I'll wait here with the ship, said Day. If you're not back in 3 hours, I'll assume something went wrong and contact our other allies. Minho nodded. Let's go. They stepped out onto the moon's surface. It was strange to walk with so little gravity. Jiho felt like he might float away with each step. They moved slowly but steadily toward the facility, which was just becoming visible over the moon's curve. It was larger than Jiho had expected, a series of domed buildings connected by low tunnels. There were ships parked nearby, both Calaxian and Draxid designs. There, said Minho, pointing to a small door on the side of one dome. That's our way in. They moved carefully, staying low and using the uneven ground for cover. When they reached the door, Minho took out a small tool and worked on the lock. After a few tense moments, the door slid open. Inside, they removed their spacesuits and put on the special clothing Dee had given them. The outfits looked like maintenance worker uniforms with hoods that covered most of their faces. The control room should be in the central dome, whispered Minho. Stay close to me and try to look like you belong here. They walked through the tunnels, passing a few workers who barely looked at them. Jiho's heart was beating so fast he was sure everyone could hear it, but no one stopped them, until they turned a corner and came face to face with a Calaxian security guard. Identification, demanded the guard, holding out his hand. Minho didn't hesitate. He moved forward as if to comply, then suddenly struck the guard with quick, precise movements. The guard fell without making a sound. Help me hide him, said Minho. They pulled the unconscious guard into a small storage room. Minho took the guard's access card. This will help, he said, showing the card to Jiho. They continued on, moving more quickly now. They didn't have much time before someone found the guard. At last, they reached the central dome. The control room was behind a large metal door with a security panel. Minho used the guard's card and the door slid open. Inside, screens covered the walls, showing different parts of the facility. There were workstations with computers, but the room was empty of people. They must be changing shifts, said Minho. We're lucky. He went to one of the computers and inserted a small device. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. I'm copying everything, he said. All their records, all their plans. Jiho watched the screens on the walls. One showed a room full of holding cells. In each cell was a human, sitting or lying down, looking weak and sick. We have to help them, said Jiho. We will, said Minho. But not right now. We need this proof first, or it will never stop. Suddenly, an alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed in the control room. They found the guard, said Minho. We need to go. Now. He pulled the device from the computer and put it in his pocket. They ran for the door, but it was already closing automatically because of the alarm. This way, said Minho, pulling Jiho toward another door. Emergency exit. They pushed through the door into a stairwell. They could hear voices and footsteps coming from above and below. We're trapped, said Jiho. No, said Minho. We just need to think differently. He looked up at the ceiling of the stairwell. There was a maintenance hatch there. Minho jumped, using the low gravity to reach it easily. He pushed it open and pulled himself up. Come on, he said, reaching down for Jiho. Jiho jumped too, and Minho caught his hand, pulling him up into a narrow tunnel. They crawled quickly, following the tunnel as it curved around the dome. Where does this lead? Asked Jiho. Outside. I hope, said Minho. They reached another hatch. Minho pushed it open carefully and looked out. We're on the roof of the dome, he said. We can jump from here, use the low gravity to land safely, and then run for the ship. They climbed out onto the curved surface of the dome. Below, they could see guards running around searching for them. Ready? Asked Minho. Jiho nodded, though he felt far from ready. They jumped together. For a moment, Jiho felt like he was flying. Then they hit the ground, rolling to absorb the impact. They got up and ran, zigzagging to avoid the guards who had now spotted them. Blasts of energy hit the ground near their feet. The guards were shooting at them. Keep running, shouted Minho. They ran as fast as they could in the low gravity, bounding over rocks and craters. The ship was just ahead now. Day must have seen them coming because the door was open, waiting for them. They jumped inside and Day closed the door immediately. Go, said Minho. Get us out of here. Day started the engines and the ship lifted off the moon's surface. Through the window, Jiho could see guards firing at them, but it was too late. They were already moving away, accelerating toward space. Did you get it? Asked Day. Minho held up the small device. Everything, all the proof we need. Jiho sank into a seat, his legs weak with relief. What now? Now we go to the Galactic Council, said Minho. They meet in 2 days. We'll show them what we found. And that's exactly what they did. 2 days later, in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, Jiho stood before representatives of 100 different species. Minho stood beside him, no longer pretending to be a simple exchange participant, but standing tall and proud. The proof they had found was clear and shocking. Records of secret meetings between Admiral Taiwan and Draxid leaders. Plans for weapons that would kill millions. Evidence of humans used as test subjects. The council was horrified. They ordered immediate action. The secret facility was shut down. The imprisoned humans were freed. Admiral Taiwan and his Draxid partners were arrested. And something else happened. Something Jiho hadn't expected. The council looked at how the exchange program had been used to take humans and other species against their will. They ordered it to be completely changed. From now on, said the head counselor, all participants in the program must be treated as equal diplomatic representatives, not as pets or property. And Administrator Jiho will lead this reform. Jiho was shocked. Me? Yes, said the counselor. Your reports were right all along, and your actions, along with those of your human friend, have shown us the truth. Later, as Jiho and Minho left the council chamber, many people came to speak with them. Some were Calaxians who had once laughed at Jiho for treating a human with respect. Now they looked at Minho with new eyes. I don't understand, said one official who had been especially cruel in the past. How could a human do what our best security forces could not? How could you uncover this plot and stop it? Minho looked at the official calmly. Because you underestimated us. You thought we were just simple creatures good only as pets or test subjects, but humans are more than that. We're adaptable, we're resourceful, and we're loyal to those who show us respect. The official nodded slowly and walked away, thinking hard about what he had heard. So what happens now? Jiho asked Minho as they stood alone. Will you go back to Earth? Not yet, said Minho. I've been asked to stay and help with the new exchange program, to make sure it works the way it should. He looked at Jiho. If that's okay with you, of course. I'd still need a Calaxian sponsor. Jiho smiled, his heart feeling lighter than it had in days. I would be honored, but not as your sponsor. As your friend. Minho smiled too, a real smile this time, not the small, almost smile from before. I'd like that. As they walked out of the council building together, Jiho thought about how much had changed. Just weeks ago, the idea of a human being equal to a Calaxian seemed impossible to most of his people. Now, because of what had happened, because of what Minho had done, things would never be the same. They had mocked him for having a human pet. But in the end, that human had not only protected his owner, he had taught an entire galaxy the meaning of true respect.